it was like the Bermuda Triangle for me, Charlie. Basically, what happened was my best friend from college marries my sister. They really weren't in love, so the feelings there, it's my best friend and my sister. I could tell, if anybody could tell, that this wasn't. They were marrying each other because for the wrong reasons. There wasn't this love affair there. My grandmother dies in my arms. And it's the first time I ever really dealt with loss. And at this exact time, the only way I know how to word it is alcohol stops working. When I say that is, what I'm trying to say is I could drink, and you would see the physical symptoms. I would slur my words, I'd pass out, but it
Right.
stopped working. It stopped doing the thing that it used to do for my brain. I used to be able to have a few drinks and that thing going, you're not as good as your father, you're not as good as your grandfather. You were once the fat kid. You're just a fit guy that does nothing with his body. You're never going to be as good as everybody else. You're 30. When are you going to grow up? I used to have a few drinks, it would shut off, and Happy Adam would show up. It stopped work. I couldn't drink, and it never shut off. It never shut off. It was
Yeah.
torture.
That's that jumping off point. You get to that point where, and something I want to be really clear about with people is, as Adam shares his story, there is a line. And I personally can't stand the fact that we have to hit rock bottom. We use that term as if you've got to lose everything, and the truth is, you don't need to be any sicker to get better. You can, as soon as you start to feel the consequences of your life are stacking up and you want to change them, you can change. Don't let anybody's narrative tell you that you need to lose everything. You will ultimately. You'll lose. I'm not here to. I'm that train's going to go where it's going to go. But your point is really impactful, which is that it stops working. It stops working. And so you're having that more negative consequences. You're not getting the relief, and the pendulum shifts. I think that's the line you're talking about. It shifts from kind of fun with a few problems, but at least I'm getting the payoff of this numbing effect of my feelings. And now it's just problems. And the amount I need to consume to quiet my brain is really, I don't know, unconsumable, if that's an English word, but you can't drink enough to do the things that you were hoping that drinking could do. And you get to a point where I'm sure the negative consequences are starting to pile up, as they do for most people with active addiction.
Absolutely. And by the way, one of the things that I like about for me, because it's very personal and it makes me feel it was a lot of the physical ramifications too. Like I could not control anymore the things that I used to be able to control physically. My equilibrium at times. I just, my body was shutting down to the point that I went to the Hanley Center here in South Florida for rehab, for treatment, and I still have the record of the highest toxicity rate in blood because I was mixing so much stuff, Charlie.
Yeah.
So now I say that 15 years down the road, a little bit with like a badge of honor that I made it through. But back then I was like, the denial was so thick. I didn't believe a word they were saying. I thought they were full of it. But no, I was dying. My toxicity levels were through the roof.
And was that the catalyst for, what was the we all have, that point where we need to make a shift. Was it the physical failings that were just stacking up to a point where your family gave you an ultimatum? We all hit that bottom of the hole and the shovel says ping, you're not, you want to go further or not? What happened for you?
Yeah, well, so I was mixing a lot of prescription pills with the alcohol, a lot of prescription pills.
Frustrated chemist right here.
Yeah, me too.
Please don't mix. Not please. Do not take while consuming alcohol. Oh, yeah. How many?
Exactly. Yeah. So exactly. And the reason I wanted to say the physical, because the physical was for me was the personal feeling inside. To everyone else, it was my behavior. It was just I was dark. I was 1 minute I was too happy and euphoric. And you never got a consistent Adam. And I just had a child. And I think what happened was that my daughter, this you know gift from God, not just for myself but for the entire family, was like, okay, look, this is real now. Adam got away with a lot of shenanigans, but now we have somebody else to worry about. So everybody, they hired the right guy. His name is Michael Walsh. He's still wonderful and big in the industry, and everybody chips in an Adam story. Adam. Well, there's this time that Adam was doing this in the garage, and there's this time that Adam fell down on the plane to Vegas, and there was this time that Adam drove his nephews drunk, and there was this time that Adam actually bathed his daughter drunk on Patron, almost slipped down the stairs, and everyone puts in a story, and the guy goes, yeah, sounds like your son has a problem, sounds like your husband has a problem. And I walked into an intervention.
So you were intervened on, and that's, I know lots of intervention stories, and I think I'll call all of them successful, just because at least it put a light on the issue. Not all of them led to recovery. I love the ones that do, but I think whenever people can take a proactive approach to confronting somebody, instead of letting it stay in the shadows and playing that, don't ask, don't tell game, or the denial game, at least, the catalyst for change comes from shining a light out of the kind of mushrooms of the cave. So I'm super glad that your family had the courage to do that. And obviously I'm even more appreciative of the fact that you heard the message, because at some point those messages just kept, you can deny a few, but it sounds like there was enough there that kind of, you were at the right place and in your own kind of headspace to hear the stories.
Yeah, I was. Thank God, Charlie. Now look, I still was Adam enough to have a little denial. I compromised on the 28 days. I was like, I don't know if I could do 28 days. That's a long time, and always worried about what other people are thinking of me. Where is the employees going to think I am? What are these people going to think? It wasn't even about the people in the room crying, asking me for help. They were not important. Where are people going to think of me? Where are people going to think I went? So they compromised with me, which was never a compromise. It was a manipulation. And they said, okay, how about 10 days? 10 days and we'll see if you have this thing. And I surrendered and I went to treatment. And the day that I thought was obviously at that moment the worst day ever in my life turned out to be the greatest day of my life.
That's a great way to describe it. Can we just talk a little bit about surrender? Because I know, I'm a student of words and what they mean. And, there's a definition of surrender that, I've always kind of been drawn to. I mean, I think it's the one that says you give up and lay down your weapons and join the winning side, and to me, it's not this surrender of defeat. It's this surrender of, I'm surrendering the shitty life I have, and I'm willing to see if I can do some things to get a better one. And I think people confuse surrender with being defeated, and you might be defeated in one aspect of your life, but as you've pointed out, I mean, tell me that you haven't been way overpaid for what you thought you'd get out of taking that bet.
Way overpaid. I mean, look, I follow you. I hope you know how much I love and respect you. And before we even met, your dear friend George Mumford, I read his book like 3 times. So that moment of surrender, that's like being traded to play with the Bulls with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. It's like the day you get called into the office and like, Charlie, you're being traded to the Lakers to play with Kobe and Shaq and Phil Jackson. I mean, you don't know it at the time. It feels like a complete, something's being taken away from you, but really everything's being given to you.
Yeah.
So,
thank you for that perspective. And Adam, just what a great way to describe it, because it's like, what's being taken away from me? The amount of times I've drove drunk, the lack of reliability to my family. You're going to take my dishonesty away from me. You're going to take these sordid places I've been hanging out away from me, and you're going to put me into the sunlight of the world and around my friends again. It's like, but that trade seems, look, I mean, I say it today, and you and I can both say it with a bit of a changed life behind us, but at the time it seems like a loss.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I remember first day in treatment. I mean, honestly, Joy, day one, saying I'm an alcoholic for the first time. I said, actually, I'm an alcoholic and an addict for the first time. And I was saying it because everyone else was saying it. And I wanted to get the heck out of there. So I wanted to obey by the rules. And I'm going somewhere with this. And I remember a huge gorilla jumping off my shoulders, and I could breathe. Like I just admitted what I was. I did for the first time. And it fit like a glove. Like, oh wait, that's why I got a DUI. That's why I wrote 30 emails and letters to my wife that I'll stop drinking. That's why I was forging prescription pills. That's what, everything made sense. And then within a heartbeat, within a second, it was like, how am I going to watch the Jets game with my dad now? It felt like something was taken away from me. That's where I was going with it. I didn't know how to live without.
Yeah, that's you reach this point. And this is true for anybody who's facing adversity or challenge or change in their lives. When we talk about overcoming, and in the particular case, it's overcoming the substance abuse issue, but really you're recovering from this kind of spiritual bankruptcy, this kind of unhappy, unsatisfied life that came from feeling less than and using substances. I mean, people get confused. The substances weren't the problem, they were the solution. And so now we're going to take what had been your solution, and what are you going to substitute it with? I mean, the Jets game is more fun with a few beers, and for a normal person that's true, but for Adam, a few beers led to a DUI or a missed opportunity to see your daughter, all these other things. And so the consequences of an abnormal drinker are different from a normal drinker, and you had to find a substitute for that belief, and learn how to watch the Jets game as a man who wasn't going to consume anything. How hard was that?
That's a great question.
Actually even harder to be a Jets fan. And I mean,
terrible.
it's one thing if you're a Patriots fan and having this, at least your team's winning, but how are you going to deal with the Jets sober? Now I'm really digging in.
You see what I mean? Yeah. You can really feel my pain.
Yeah, no shit.
It's difficult to put into words because the way I would explain it, and Charlie, exactly what I mean, is it's hard in the sense of it's like learning to write with your opposite hand. Everything just felt foreign. It wasn't that I felt like if I sat there with my dad, I had to have a drink, but everything just felt challenging.
Yeah.
So, if you anything you do, just try to do the way I try to explain to people is writing with your opposite hand. It just felt like I was still me. I still had the same feelings, but everything just felt difficult, hard, new, very, very new. But I had built great counsel around me, great mentors, great fellowship, great friends. And I was able to, as long as I was open and honest, I was able to share it and realize that this is not the first time that anybody went through this. I remember learning, hey, you know what you could do, Adam? You could bring your own car keys. That way, if you feel really uncomfortable, you could leave. That was like mind-blowing information. Wait, you mean if I'm uncomfortable, I can leave? Who knew?
Yeah, I thought I had to be the life of the party and the last to leave. I mean, you're, and I want to go back real quick because as I, have committed myself to taking these incredible stories from people like you and finding these pieces to help other people. You said something really important, and, it's that community and connection. And, they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I mean, what I heard you talk about was how, because you've gone far, and it sounds like if I'm hearing you properly, that it wasn't something that these weren't weights Adam decided to lift alone, that there was a group of people that had some wisdom and some experience, and I know some of the people that you hang and ride with are pretty solid men and women. And you put some guys around you that really knew what they were doing, and then you listened to them. Did I hear that right?
You got it 100% right, Charlie. And I'm that guy, I will follow directions to a T. So if I'm with you and we're hanging out and you say, Adam, you go A to B and B to C, that is perfect for somebody with a personality like me.